Top 5 MCs all time.
Oh man,
You and I,
look at my boy D-Dub.
yeah, you and I are big hip hop fans. I'm sure we got a lot of hip hop fans that listen to the show.
LL Cool J is.
So
I'm showing my age, D-Dub.
Yeah, let's see where we got. Let's see where we agree and disagree. So let's go. We're gonna go back and forth on this one. So let's go start at number 5. Who do you have at your number 5 MC? Now, of course, I say MC, right?
Right.
We're from a whole different generation. If you're under if you're under what 30 years old, you probably don't know what an MC is.
Oh my God.
You probably call them rappers, right? It's just straight up rappers if you're under 30. MC was microphone controller.
Boy.
From back in the day.
Did we set this up right for the people today, D-Dub? Y'all, we gonna show our age on this.
Yeah, this is purely generational, I bet.
And this is still a Dallas Cowboys podcast, people, but y'all know the plus. The plus is things that people want us to talk about or that we want to talk about. And David D-Dub Wilson said he wants to know who are the top 5 MCs, you youngsters, of all time.
The thing is, if we want to talk about it, I'm sure there's a whole host of people out there who also want to talk about it. So that's our
absolutely, sir.
That's how we approached it. So number 5 for me, Sean Carter, Jay-Z.
Number 5.
Some would probably say that's a little bit too low.
Some.
And of course, you know what's interesting about Jay-Z is he kind of fell in the on the boundary of being old school and somewhat new school, because he didn't come out until 94, 95. So he doesn't fall within that old range of possibly other people that's on my list. And you really can't consider him new school, quote unquote, because he's up in age now, you know, right. And probably still has as good lyrics as anybody in the game. I would say he's number 5 and not higher, simply because for one reason. And it's a lame reason. I'll give you. It's a very lame reason. I'll admit that up front. There have been 2 or 3 instances in his rhymes where I heard that he lifted other MCs' lyrics.
Don't sugarcoat it, D-Dub. He's a thief. He's a thief.
I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to go that far because 99.5% of the time he's on point.
He's a thief.
But there are 2 or 3 times I said, that's Biggie Smalls, is it not? That's maybe this guy, is it not? It's only once, twice, but only once or twice I've caught him on that. But yeah, he's my number 5. What you got at number 5?
Number 5. Okay, y'all know D-Dub is the man who got logic and figures and everything, but I'm gonna have to bogart his lane a little bit on this topic, because we got to define this a little bit. I'm gonna say, look, y'all, it's not necessarily about album sales. It's not necessarily about a number of things. My criteria has to be, you have to be groundbreaking. You have to be a true lyricist. You have to have some longevity. You have to have some popularity. And then we can mix album sales in there as well. And, you know, we are, again, showing age when we say album sales, but, you know, from albums to mixtapes to streaming service to all of that, we're talking it all. So when I give my list, I'm already letting you know that my people are going to vary in age, that somebody, heck, maybe 30 years old, unless they're a hip hop aficionado, may not even really know it. So with that introduction given, my number 5 is the man who literally changed his name to Knowledge Reigns Supreme over nearly everyone. This man's name is KRS-One.
There it is.
Now, y'all, you got to be some type of confident or arrogant. I'll let you choose to change your name to knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone. But KRS-One. So why do I have him at number 5? First of all, if y'all are hip hop aficionados, KRS-One is one of the original, the true lyricists. I mean, true lyricists who could rhyme about anything, any topic, almost anywhere, many times straight off the dome, freestyling, and he had some meaning to it that he was talking about something, even if it was either a political news topic to just a fun topic to what many hip hop gurus talked about. And that was just a little bit of the braggadocious, arrogant street cred of being able to spit a rhyme and talk about your life a little bit. So number 5 for me, KRS-One.
Yeah, Chris Parker, the great Chris Parker.
Mhm.
All right, number 4 for me, Eminem,
Mhm.
Marshall
Mhm. Mhm.
Mathers.
Mhm.
The music is a bit lacking
Mhm. Mhm.
relative to his lyrical prowess.
Mhm.
I will admit that. But lyrically speaking,
Mhm.
few can touch it. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Few can touch him
Mhm.
lyrically.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, there's really not any more to be said about that. And I know there's a lot of people who may not like him simply because his songs aren't. You're not bumping Eminem a lot of times, or you're not hearing Eminem in cars a lot of times, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
He almost falls into a pop category to a certain extent.
Mhm.
Um, but again, lyrically, he very few can touch him. So I got
Mhm.
Eminem at number 4. What you got?
And I got to tell you, you're absolutely right on your boy Eminem. Eminem is and I'll say this. I'll say this. Whenever anybody asks me who I consider my top 5 or the best of all time in anything at all, I always say my personal opinion is just that, an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I look at those who are the best or some of the best of all time and what did they say,
Right.
and that's a big
That's huge.
that's huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Some of, if not the greatest basketball players who have ever lived, say Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. Okay. some some of the greatest Hall of Fame football players of all time say that Jerry Rice is possibly the greatest football player of all time, without a doubt, the greatest wide receiver of all time. So when I hear the people who did this at an extraordinarily high level say that, yeah, I'm bad, boy, but that boy right there, he was woo. And I've heard MCs say that Eminem is one of the best ever.
Yep.
So I can't be mad at you with that. But my man D Dub asked me who was my number 4 of all time. I'm gonna go with I was a fiend before I became a teen. I melted
Interesting.
microphones instead of cones and ice cream. Music orientated, so when hip hop was originated, fitted like pieces of puzzle, complicated. Your boy Rakim, Rakim the God. Rakim is my number 4 of all time, and why is he my number 4? He's a game changer, groundbreaker. He changed the game. Rakim was the very first MC that started rhyming in bars that did not uh flow well. I'm not going to say did not flow perfectly. You would not think it would flow perfectly if you were looking at it on paper,
Right.
but when he spit his words, it was unbelievable. So blurs and slurs and double entendres and having a word in the middle of a bar rhyme with the word at the end of the bar, and maybe the first word of the second bar and all of that stuff, Rakim was the first person to do all of that. And I've heard from interviews of other rappers that say, yeah, Rakim is a bad boy. So my number 4, Rakim.
Not mad at it at all. Not mad at it at all. All right, number 3. My number 3, Tupac Shakur.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The lyrics kind of take a back seat to his charisma, his performance, and his braggadocio.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I can say about Tupac is when he rapped, you actually felt what he was talking about. That's the one thing about Tupac I can say. He didn't have the lyrics necessarily of Eminem, or the cleverness and the wordplay that maybe Eminem or Jay-Z has, but you actually felt. I know I did. I actually felt what he was talking about. He was the best for me in doing that. You know, because he would have he could go with a low tone, and then he'll like hit you over the head with another line, you know. So you could always feel what he was talking about. He was probably the most expressive type of rapper that I've ever heard. So that's why he would be at number 3. And another thing is, he could go from Brenda's Got a Baby, right?
Yeah.
And then he's trying to blow somebody's head off on the next song. He go, I mean, this dude was all over. The dude was all over the place. From Brenda's Got a Baby to Hit 'Em Up, right?
Thug life, baby. Thug life.
He had at least two different personalities. At least.
Thug life to Dear Mama.
Yeah, right. And then talking about revolutionary stuff, right? Then go to the gangster stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was definitely your boy.
He definitely showed both sides. Yeah, he definitely showed both sides. So that's my number 3. What you got? Number 3.
Man, before I go to my number 3, I got to chat about Tupac a little bit, and I am definitely a fan of Tupac. Definitely a fan of that. Now people forgive me by saying this. I do still think he's dead, though. I'm not one of those think he's hiding in.
I can't believe that people still believe that.
And because I heard that him, Sam Cooke, Prince, Michael Jackson, and Bob
Elvis,
Marley. Of course. Elvis, yeah. Oh, Elvis in there too. I heard they all bought an island in the North Caribbean, maybe the North Caribbean that nobody knows about, and they just chilling there. And I'm going, yeah. Going, yeah. Okay, so the reason why surprising, this is going to surprise the devil out of you. I'm giving things away. Tupac is actually not on my list, and he is a bad boy. But Tupac is not on my list because, believe it or not, I don't think I don't think he has enough. Now he had plenty, but unfortunately, he died too soon. He died too soon, and I don't think he had enough. But boy, he killed it. He killed it.
I'm sorry, he didn't have enough what?
He didn't have enough material.
Enough material. Okay, see, that's why I would say Biggie Smalls wouldn't have made my list.
Yeah,
but I know a lot of people have Notorious B.I.G. on their list. Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, they have Biggs on the list because, like I mentioned with my number 4 dude, I would say Biggie took what Rakim started and took it to a whole nother level of being able to have just literally graduate level artistic literal writing with his rhymes, and I think people who have never seen his rhymes written down and have broken them down, they would wouldn't really understand the alliteration and the pose. And forgive me if I'm using the wrong words. I did go to college, but sometimes those words of how rhythmic rhymes and poetry is written, they skip me. But when I say that your boy Biggie had that, Rakim was the one who originated it, and then Biggie took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, Biggie was quite clever with his rhyme skills.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
But you
again,
asked me who's my number
yeah,
3.
yeah.
I'm going to say your boy Eminem. My name is, yeah, I got Eminem as number 3 because to your point, Eminem's lyrics, his lyrics are just bananas.
Yeah, they
They're
are. They
just
are. Yeah.
they're just on another stratosphere. And when you have some of the best to ever do it, say, yeah, y'all, ain't nobody in the game want to go toe to toe with Eminem. They don't want to piss him off. They will spar with him and collab with him and have a very creative, friendly battle with him. But to say, nah, I'm finna come at you because I don't like you and you ain't that good. Nobody wants to do that to Eminem.
I agree.
So Eminem is my number 3.
Yeah, and what's funny about Eminem is his producer is Dr. Dre, or his producer has mostly been Dr. Dre, which is one of the greatest producers of all time.
True.
Why would his music necessarily fall behind his lyrics? I don't understand that. Maybe Dre held all of his best material for himself and other people, and gave his least work to Eminem. I get that's the only way I can actually make sense of it.
Maybe, but I tell you what though, when Dre hooked up with him, I don't think Eminem would be Eminem if it were not for Dre.
Oh, no doubt, because he was in the game for like 10 years prior.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I didn't know that because he had a lot of underground stuff that maybe people didn't hear of. But
exactly.
he was in Detroit, he was in Michigan doing his thing, and then he meets with Dre, and Dre. Matter of fact, there's a nice little blurb going around on social media right now with Dre talking about his very first time meeting Eminem, his very first time being in the studio with him.
Mm-hmm.
He comes into the studio. He comes to the studio and he asks him, "Hey, you want? I got some beats I put down. Do you want to hear some of it?" And Eminem says, "Yeah." And one of, if not Eminem's first mega hit, my name is Slim Shady. He said, Dr. Dre hit the button on the drum machine, and he said literally, and like 3-4 seconds went by, and that's what Eminem started. I mean, like immediately, his very first time hearing that beat, he started saying, my name is, and Dre stopped the music and was like, whoa, that's bananas. We getting ready to do this. And made one of his first and biggest hits.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right there. So yeah, Eminem was my number 3.
All right. Number 2. James Todd Smith. LL Cool J.
Ooh.
For some, that would probably be a little high, but I think it's right on. I think it's right on time for me. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, LL is the ultimate. What was called back in the day. Nobody under 30 would know this. He was the ultimate b-boy.
Okay.
He was almost, in a sense, he almost was hip hop. He embodied hip hop from like 83, 84 through probably 88, 89, maybe. He was what you would consider the ultimate b-boy.
Yeah, I'm going to say it like this: from 85, 86 to 1992, at least, LL Cool J was the single greatest rapper on the planet.
Yep.
He was the single greatest rapper on the planet from that time. And for y'all who are not as old as we are, um, try to open your mind, get on Google, go back and look at his accomplishments, his record sales, and who was doing what then. For those who don't know, LL Cool J was number one. First of all, he was the very first act signed to Def Jam, the very first one.
Yep.
Okay. And some will say, he will definitely say this, and I've heard Russell Simmons say this too, is like LL Cool J put Def Jam on the map. He's the act that put them on the map. Okay. Also, just prior to that, and even during some of his career, all rap acts were groups. In the very, very early days, Furious 5, Treacherous 3, they were all groups. And then you had the biggest rap group of all time, Run DMC, but they were all groups. LL Cool J was the first single solo rapper who could get on stage and rock the entire stadium all by himself with a Kango.
Radio came out in 84, 85. I want to say 84. I want to say 85, actually.
I'll look it up, but I believe it was after that. If I remember correctly, LL Cool J's first single was it Beatbox in 85?
No, it was I Can't Live Without My Radio.
No. He had one before that didn't go as big. Oh, that was his first.
It may have been single. You'll Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. You have to look this up now.
Yeah. I said I need a beat, but it was I said Beatbox. It was I need a beat.
I need a beat. Yeah, you're right. 85 it came out, late 85.
Yeah. And yes, so and I think it was even recorded, I believe, in 84 and was released in 85.
And that seems late. So that would mean we were sophomores. Yeah, sophomores in high school.
Yeah,
it seems late.
And that's why I said from 86 to about 91, 92. We all wanted to be LL Cool J.
I think it was up to Phenomenon. I think some people was I think all the way up to Phenomenon. And now, of course, you had the infamous Walking Like a Panther. Nobody liked that album. I didn't hate it though. There was some good songs on Walking Like a Panther.
I didn't hate it either. Matter of fact, there are a couple LL Cool J songs that you only know if you are a diehard LL Cool J fan.
Right.
It never hit the radio or anything, but if you were to listen to it, it's like the boy was rocking, man. LL Cool, and I'm biased, and I say I'm biased, and I'm assuming a part of this is why you put him on your list is that I'm a young Black inner city kid who grew up in the 80s. There was a time, and I would say between about 85 and 89, every teenage boy wanted to be LL Cool J. He was the biggest thing in the world. And for a half a minute, and when I say a half a minute, Kool Moe Dee was the only person who even gave him a little bit of a challenge. And Kool Moe Dee, with all respect to him, I think fell off a cliff. He fell off a cliff, and it seemed like LL Cool J climbed to the top of the mountain.
Right, and see that's the other thing with LL. You mentioned with Eminem, how don't step to Eminem. That was LL Cool J early on. I mean, he basically took three rappers out of the game. Yes. Which is Kool Moe Dee. Ice-T had to start going to acting, and Cannabis. Which, by the way, I like Cannabis.
Oh,
I really like Cannabis lyrically.
Cannabis was the man for a hot second.
But he shouldn't have touched LL. Yeah, he pissed off LL.
It pissed off LL. It did. And when he pissed off LL, there's some people who don't even know who Cannabis is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they don't even know who he is.
Right. And that's because he pissed off LL.
Yeah,
he probably would have been much bigger if he hadn't. But yeah, LL, my number two. Who you got for number two?
Number two, I have a dude who just pretty much in the early days, in the very, very early days, because there's another group that did what I'm getting ready to say. Number two is a guy who put Southern rap on his back. And transcended it. And there was a record label who bet the farm on this dude.
I already know where you're going.
Weezy, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, if you listen to his mixtapes, okay, if you listen to Lil Wayne mixtapes that he was at one point putting out, he said at one point Lil Wayne may have been putting out underground mixtapes one a week almost, it seemed like. Okay, and I had literally my I'm making me sound old as hell. My son said, "Dad, how much do you know about Lil Wayne's mixtapes? The stuff that didn't come on the radio." And I was like, "I know a little bit of it. I know a little bit of it." He said, "No. Go back and listen to his. Go find his mixtapes and listen to them." And I did, and I was like, "Wow." And then I went on Google and I searched and all that. And there's about a 10, I want to say about a 10-minute version of Lil Wayne going off the top of the head with his notepad, ripping out the pages in his notepad and basically saying that was the last time that he was going to write any of his rhymes down. And he was going off the top of the dome, and every time he would finish several bars, he would just rip a page out of a notepad and throw it. And he basically said writing was slowing him down. And he was one of the first rappers, and there's only, from what I know, there's only 3 rappers who they say goes into the studio with no notes, no notepad, no nothing, hears the music, listens to the music, and then says, "All right, I got it." Steps into the booth and spit lyrics and ends up being on a final take of an album. And Lil Wayne is one of those. Okay. Now, I mentioned that Baby and Cash Money Records, literally at one point, they were only known in the South, Louisiana, and everything. They couldn't break nationwide. And they basically said, we were going to bet the farm on the smallest, youngest rapper in our group because he's actually the best. And at the time, they were talking about a 12, 13-year-old Lil Wayne. Okay. And they literally said, all right, we gonna, yeah, when we go out with, Juvenile and all of that stuff, yeah, everybody's gonna be a group and this and the other. But we betting the farm on this dude, because they said that he would come to the studio saying lyrics, rhymes that these grown men were like, where is he getting this from? How's he putting this together? How's he even talking about the stuff that he's talking about? They're like, and they were like, oh my God. Even at one point, and I'm getting all of this from a little documentary that I was watching. At one point, they were even saying, they were even trying to hold him back because they were talking about, hey man, he's young. We got to keep him in school and this and the other. And they would say, hey man, forget rhyming. You need to go do your homework. And he said, I already did my homework. Anyway, what? Yeah, I did my homework already. Got straight A's in school. Got straight A's in everything, and then would come to the studio and would rhyme off the top of the dome better than anybody there. And all of this is documented. And I had to go back and see all this. Lil Wayne, my number 2 of all time.
Never been a fan, never been a huge fan. I'll say this. There have been songs here and there that I've heard.
Mhm.
I say, yeah, that's nice. That's a nice wordplay or whatever case may be. But never been a fan. I've always linked him to what I consider where rap started to go down in quality. Right.
Okay.
So that was the early 90s, your Master P, Cash Money, that whole when they started to take over is where I consider rap music to start to wane a little bit.
Make them say
that may be fair. Yeah, that may be unfair. But that's just kind of the way after I'm coming from the New York rappers, right?
Yeah.
And with Ruthless Records, and then the Chronic, and Death Row. After all of that, and that's kind of happened some right before I guess they started to kick off. It's like I just heard a diminished quality.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, I think the reason because I agree with you to an extent, and fans, we are definitely showing our age here, and this is why I'm going to say we're showing our age. I am one of those who literally had to sit down and open my mind and receive what began to be very, very popular hip hop music. And I'm not saying popular as it went pop. No, I'm saying that the music of hip hop was popular. And I started hearing, and I'm sure Dave D-Dub's going to agree with me on this, is I started hearing things that was not creative, wasn't talking about anything.
Exactly. That's where I'm going. Yeah.
It wasn't creative. It wasn't talking about anything.
The wordplay wasn't anywhere near what we just come off of.
Yeah, it wasn't. And rappers used to hold your attention with a story in music. They would hold your attention with a story and even a storyline in a song, in music. And at that time, couldn't do a lot of cursing. Yeah. Okay, especially if it was radio, couldn't do a lot of cursing, and couldn't do a lot of overt sexual innuendos.
Right.
I mean, couldn't do a lot of that. And then all of a sudden, every single song, every single hip hop song literally spoke about women, money, sex.
And rims on a car, of course.
And cars. Yeah. Women, money, sex, cars, and clothes.
And I'm just coming off of Public Enemy, KRS-One,
Arrested Development,
Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Queen Latifah, people who are actually talking about X-Clan. Come on now.
Yes.
Just talking about something. And now you're giving me this.
Yeah, I mean, even even rappers who went popular with a chant. It was a you remember when Mike Jones came out?
Oh, man,
Mike Jones, who? Mike Jones, who?
And so he comes from. That's what I'm saying. He comes from that lineage. He comes from that lineage of Louisiana.
Yeah. So it was basically a chant, and then nothing else. And you can go back, and even I'm Bad with LL Cool J.
Right.
Not even that. Even I mean, yeah, I'm bad with LL Cool J. The Each verse of it was bar after bar after bar after bar of lyrics, not a hook, not a chant, not a ah, mm, ah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
right, and then soon
ah,
after that, we get this whole mumble thing.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't a no rapper can rap quite like I can. I take a muscle bound man and put his face in the sand. Not the last mafioso. I'm a MC. I mean, it was like it was on and on and on and on, and you could paint a picture, and you could close your eyes, and you could see a mini movie in this song, and it could entertain you and hold your attention from beginning to end.
Yeah. And let's don't let Luke, let's don't let him off the hook either. Because he was just prior to that. You talk about music that was not talking about complete nothing. Nothingness. It was all about the music.
Head,
it was all
and
right.
What you like, fellas? Head. I mean, it was
that's nonsense. But when it came on in the club, there you go.
When it came on, and it took some brothers out of the hood. Let me tell you. Yeah. So I completely understand. And that's why putting Lil Wayne on my list tells you that I had to go back and do some research and say, okay, now I know what people are talking about. And yeah, Lil Wayne is a lyricist.
He may be the best of the entire bunch, right? Of that time. But I still link him to that same thing. So, and I know a lot of people have him very high on their lists of great rappers. I just can't put him anywhere near my list.
Yeah, there you go. So that's my number 2. Weezy.
Wow. All right.
Should we start talking about Jerry Jones and Barry Switzer again?
Maybe after that, yeah, maybe we might have to. All right, here's some of my honorable mentions before I hit my number 1. Chuck D.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
His significance, can't even be measured as to what he did in the late 80s, and early 90s with Public Enemy, and of course, as you mentioned, KRS-One. Another one that will probably get missed on a lot of people is Big Daddy Kane.
Oh, see, I wouldn't miss Big Daddy Kane for a reason that I was told that possibly one of the greatest one-on-one, mano-a-mano hip-hop battles that never really took place was Big Daddy Kane against Rakim, who was my number 4 on the list.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I can see how, but go ahead with your honorable mention.
One of the newer school guys that completely under the radar for most people. Jay Electronica. Have you heard of this dude?
Oh, see now I'm feeling bad because I consider myself. I wouldn't say I'm a hip hop aficionado. I'm a hip hop.
Let me put it to you this way. From Louisiana. Don't let that throw you off.
Okay.
All right. He raps like he's from New York or from one of the boroughs out of New York. He has something to say. He's a 5%er, by the way.
Okay.
The problem with Jay is, for whatever reason, he can't consistently put music out and consistently get that music marketed well. Like on his last album or 2 albums prior, Jay-Z was working with him.
Okay.
Anybody in the industry, like Jay-Z, like Nas, who actually know good rap music, great MCs, will know who Jay Electronica is. In fact, I think he's one of Erykah Badu's baby fathers. as if that's something that should be noted here.
That tells me a lot about him, though, because let me tell you something. For those of y'all who do
I could
not
be
know,
wrong about that. So, but I think that is the case. I think that is the case.
Mhm.
But lyrically speaking, look, let me put it, he's on Eminem's level lyrically. So go check him out on YouTube. And my final one is Pharaoh Monk. Pharaoh Monk out of Organized Confusion. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
Yeah, no, I've heard of him.
See, these are some deep cuts that a lot of people that may not have heard that I would love for some people to start listening to.
You're showing me that you are not shallow in your knowledge of hip hop and MC.
Not at all.
Okay, see, that's what you're showing.
And you mentioned album sales. I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less about album sales.
Yeah.
Can you actually rhyme or not? That's all I'm concerned with. All right, there you go. And my number one, this really shouldn't be, anybody who knows me, this really shouldn't be a surprise. It's Rakim. It's Rakim. I really should go any further. I really should go any further into that.
You should just stop right there.
If you know Rakim, if you've heard Rakim, you know why he's number one. He is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Anybody on anybody's MC list will probably have Rakim in their top 3, if not number 1. Change the game. Change the game when he dropped.
Yeah.
And nobody's touched him anywhere close to him. Eminem may be close lyrically. But nobody touches Rakim. And you're right. Big Daddy Kane versus Rakim would be something we'd want to see. Big Daddy Kane is probably his closest from the 80s as well.
Yeah. That is true.
From a lyrical perspective. So there you go. Rakim, what you got?
Rakim. Oh, I like that. Because you know Rakim was
I don't know how you got it made it your number 4.
He's my number 4. He's my number 4. Okay. And it may be because I was putting a little bit more emphasis on quantity of material, which is why I don't have Rakim probably higher on my list. But when you talk, matter of fact, I do want to say maybe only a year or 2 ago, Rakim was they did a poll or something. I forgot exactly where I saw it, of who's the greatest MC of all time, and Rakim was number 1.
Oh yeah,
he was number 1.
Yeah, if he's not in your top 5, me and you really don't have a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, we don't have time. We don't have to talk.
Not hip hop wise.
Yeah,
we don't have a lot to talk about.
If Rakim is not in your top 5, we ain't got nothing to talk. We ain't got nothing to talk about. So you hit honorable mentions. The number 1. Matter of fact, I was discussing this with my wife before I came on the podcast, and she couldn't even come up with 5. Okay, and she's younger, and she started with 2 people, and I was like, wow, I can't even, I can't even. And she was like, well, Craig, you got to understand, I'm looking at my favorite rappers, not of all time, just my favorite, the people that when I really was into it, I wanted to listen. And she even had Gucci Man on her list. And I'm like,
no.
I said,
no.
I said, I don't even know if I can continue to have this conversation with you. I said, I can't have this conversation. I said, stop. But bringing this round to my biggest and highest honorable mention, when I gave her my top 5, I said, and did you notice who I left off? And he would, without a doubt, be my honorable mention. And I wouldn't be mad if somebody took my list, took any one of these rappers off my list, took him out and slid this dude in there. And I said, who is that, baby? Who's the guy that I didn't put on my list that you are shocked that I don't have on my list? And she didn't even hesitate. She said, LL Cool J is not on your list. Oh. She said, LL Cool J is not on your list. I just knew he was going to be on your list. And she said, you know more about LL than anybody I've ever seen. And I said, L was the dude back then. I mean, he was the dude. Okay. So my honorable mention is LL Cool J. Um, I could definitely put Chuck D from Public Enemy on my honorable mention. I could.
In fact, he should be on my list, but I just can't put him on because as much as he's talking about and as much significance as he has,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Mhm.
when It Takes a Nation of Millions dropped, that's basically changed my whole worldview almost in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So he has significance. It's just that lyrically, he can't touch the other ones that's on my list.
Yeah. And if and we're not even 100% sure that that statement is correct. We don't know if he can touch the other people on the list because his agenda,
Right.
what he was trying to do when he was rhyming was very specific. And he did that better than anyone.
Absolutely.
He did it better than anyone at all. Okay. So if he wanted to be a lyricist, we really don't know because that was never his agenda.
Basically created a whole subgenre, if you really want
I
to
would
talk
agree.
about it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
whole revolutionary, which you got, like I said, Tribe Called Quest,
Mhm.
KRS-One, and the Boogie Down
Mhm.
Productions,
Yeah.
X Clan. I mean, he basically created all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I give you my number one, I'm gonna bring this up to you, and I wish I could remember. There was someone who asked, and I'm trying to remember who it is. Y'all forgive me for not remembering, but it was someone who asked a very very knowledgeable hip hop artist, if you met someone from an alien planet who came down to Earth and said, I know nothing about this thing called hip hop. Can you tell me or give me records that could tell me about hip hop albums, full albums? But the caveat is you could only give this alien 3 albums. You could only give this alien who has never heard anything about hip hop, you could only give him 3 albums and say, if you listen to every song on these 3 records, beginning to end, this would encompass, to the best of my ability, with only 3 records, what is hip hop. 2 of the 3 albums, I'm gonna look that clip up to see if I can find it. 2 of the 3 albums were, and not in any necessary order, was Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back and Dr. Dre's The Chronic. And I forgot what the third one was. I'm gonna find that clip and figure it out. And when I heard that and I listened, I was like, you know what? That's three pretty good. If you're gonna tell someone who's never heard hip hop at all, and you're trying to tell them that this wasn't just a type of music, but this was a culture and a genre. This was a movement, or is a movement and a culture. What 3 albums would you give them? And you couldn't give them any more. I said, yeah. I would say Takes a Nation of Millions and The Chronic, and I would have to remember what the third one is. And I said,
I'm wondering if the third would be Straight Outta Compton.
That's it.
Because that was 88. I mean, what you saw, there was a fork in the road in 1988. You had Straight Outta Compton going one way with the whole gangster thing, right? And you had It Takes a Nation of Millions with the more revolutionary political type of thing. And those things have never come back together since.
No, they haven't. And I'm going to send you a talk that KRS-One did at, it was either USC or somewhere. He did a talk, and he took it before that fork in the road, and he went all the way back to where the fork in the road was underground rap versus popular rap. Your fork in the road that you're talking about came even a little later. But to move this podcast on, guys, we said that I was going to give my top 5, and I've only given 4. My number 1 is Sean Jay-Z Carter. That's my number.
Wow. I didn't see
That's my
that coming. Did not
yeah.
see that coming.
That's my number one. For all of the reasons that I tried to start this off with was straight lyrics, uh, longevity,
Got them all.
ch- changing the game,
Got them all.
uh, album sales.
Got that too. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, yeah, and other rappers who came at him ended up having to back off of him when they tried to come at him. And he did. So of all time, that's why I have to that's why I have to give the nod to. And I know and many people can knock me off of that number one, but that's what I'm doing.
He should probably be higher on my list. But who am I dropping down? Maybe Tupac. Maybe Tupac and Jay-Z could swap. But yeah, from a significant standpoint, culturally, lyrically, like you said, sales. Yeah, he has the whole package for the most part.